Hey, year six, hope you're safe and well wherever you are. Those of you who are back in school, not at all jealous, a little bit jealous. Hope you are having a fabulous time. Hope you're looking after those teachers that are around you. I know it might be a little bit strange because we haven't had some of those for a long time or ever, but hopefully you're being really nice to them and they're seeing how fabulous you all are. If you are at home, hope you're having a great time, doing lots of work, playing hard, working hard as well. I've just caught up with the instalment that Miss B did for you yesterday. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm really intrigued about this letter from Gloria. What is it that she said? Why is it that they haven't seen each other for so long? And why is it that she wants to come now? Maybe we'll find out in today's instalment. So let's get started. Today is chapter 3 and it's called The Hurricane Approaches. That night, Mum read out Aunt Gloria's letter. I tried to find it so that I could quote it word for word, but Mum said it had probably been thrown out because our house is too small to hoard things. I remember it went something like this. Dear Faith, that's my mum. I want to make up. I'm so sorry we argued last time I visited. Salim and I are about to move to New York City, where I have been offered a job as an art curator. Please can we come and stay with you for 1 or 2 nights in the half-term holiday on our way to the airport? I know your house is small, but we can squeeze in somehow. Salem says he doesn't even mind sleeping on the ironing board. Kat's just told me that is not Aunt Gloria's style at all. Aunt Gloria, she says, writes with much more elaborate words. According to Kat, she lets it all hang out. I'm not entirely sure what this means. Kat wrote down what she remembered of the letter, and this is her version. Darling, dearest Faith, I'm ever so sorry not to have been in touch more, my love. Life has been horribly hectic, and the years have flown by like so many swallows in the sky. I really regret how we argued last time. It has been eating away at my soul. I can hardly remember now what it was all about, but I was a total mess back then, having just split up with Salim's dad and not having yet discovered transcendental meditation. I am much more centred and at ease now. I have some exciting news. I've been offered a high-powered job as an art curator in New York. Isn't that fabulous? Salim and I have decided to go for it. Salim is 13 now and very grown up. He's not happy at school here. He only has one friend, poor love, who's half Asian like him, and the other boys pick on them. So it's the Big Apple for us. A big, exciting adventure in our fascinating voyage through life. Can we drop by your place on the way? Just for a night or 2, darling. I know your house is small, but Salim is dead keen to meet his cousins again. He says he can sleep on the ironing board. So the only thing Kat and I both remember is the part about the ironing board. After Mum read out the letter, Dad groaned and put his head in his hands. Kat said Auntie Glow sounded insane, and I said that Salim must be tiny if he could expect to sleep on an ironing board. This made Kat, Dad and Mum laugh. My hand shook itself out, and a bad feeling went up my esophagus. I'd been caught out again. It was like the time I'd asked why footballers were still being kept as slaves when slavery had been abolished, after a newsreader announced that a Manchester United star had been bought by another club for £12 million. When they all stopped laughing at me, Dad said, "Did we have to say yes?" And Mum said, "Yes, we did." Kat asked where everyone was going to sleep. Mum said that Aunt Gloria must have Kat's room, and Kat said, "No way, Mum." Mum said Kat would just have to lump it, and it served her right for having skived off school, because a girl who skives isn't entitled to make a fuss about sleeping on the couch for a night or 2. Kat folded her arms, and her lips went inside her teeth. What about Salim? I asked, eyeing where the ironing board was propped against the kitchen wall. Oh, he'll share with you, Ted. We can blow up the Lilo. I looked at Kat. I knew from the way her face was that she was angry. I wasn't angry, but I had a bad pain starting in my stomach. It was the thought of a strange boy coming into my room at night and having to hear him breathe when the lights were off and seeing Me get changed into my pyjamas and not being able to listen to the shipping forecast late at night like I do when I can't sleep. I said. Too right, said Kat. You'll probably end up arguing again, Dad said to Mum. He sounded like a weatherman when he's predicting a really bad storm. I have looked in the thesaurus for the right word, and it's gleeful. No, we won't, said Mum, because I won't let it happen. Not this time. I'll just take a deep breath every time she says something annoying, and in my mind's eye, I'll meditate on the shape of a teapot. And since she'll be doing the same, we'll get along just fine. I tried meditating on a teapot in my mind's eye, but all I saw was hot water spilling from the spout and coming straight at me like a scalding hot tsunami wave. Which is how the thought of Aunt Gloria coming and Salim sleeping in my room made me feel. A real hurricane would have been so much better. Chapter 4. The Hurricane Makes Landfall. Aunt Gloria and Salim came at 6:24 p.m. on Sunday 23rd of May, the start of our 1-week half-term holiday. It was a fine day with some scattered showers, moving northeast. Kat and I watched as a black London cab pulled up outside our house. Aunt Gloria came out first. She was tall and thin, with straight black hair cut to her shoulders. Kat says that style is called a bob. She wore tight jeans and dark pink sandals. You couldn't help notice her 2 big toes sticking out from the gap because they were painted with matching dark pink nail polish and were very bright. But the thing I noticed most was the cigarette holder she had in her hand. A long, slim cigarette was stuck in at the end and it was lit. A trail of smoke floated up from it. Kat said Aunt Gloria looked like a fashion editor. Kat has never met a fashion editor, so I don't know how she knew this. Salim was tall and thin with jeans on like his mother. He wore an ordinary backpack and wheeled Aunt Gloria's suitcase on wheels behind him. His black hair was cut short. His skin was brown. Kat says it was not just brown, but caramel. She says I should say that. He is very good looking. She is always thinking about whether people are good looking or not. I think people just look like who they are. I suppose I must be ugly because nobody has ever said I'm handsome. People are always saying how pretty Kat is. So I suppose she is, but to me, she just looks like Kat. So I don't know if Salim was handsome, but it looked like his thoughts were not in the same place as his body, and I like this about him. I think this is how I often look too. He and Aunt Gloria walked up to our front door, through our front door, which Mum says is the size of a postage stamp. In fact, it's 3 metres by 5, and I once worked out that it could fit 22,500 stamps. Before they had a chance to ring the doorbell, Mum flung open the front door. "Glow!" she said. "Faye!" Aunt Gloria shrieked. There was a muddle of arms and laughing, and I wished I could go up to my room. Behind them, Salim looked on. His eye and my eye met. Then he lifted his shoulders, gazed up at the sky, and shook his head. Then he smiled straight at me, which meant that he and I could become friends. And that felt good. I only had 3 other friends, and they were all grown-ups. They were my mum, my dad, and Mr. Shepherd, my teacher at school. I didn't count Kat as my friend because she was rude to me most of the time and interrupted me when I tried to speak. "Ted," Mum was saying, "say hello to your Auntie Glow." I looked at Auntie Glow's left ear. "Hello, Aunt Gloria." I put out my hand for her to shake. She dragged me into a hug that smelled of cigarettes and perfume and made my nostrils all itchy. "Hello, Ted," she said. "Just call me Glow, won't you? That's what everyone calls me." I escaped rapidly from between her arms. "God faith," she went on, "he is the spit of our father. Do you remember Dad in his suit and tie, even on holiday? Your Ted's the image of him." There was silence. It was true that I wore my school trousers and shirt every day, even if I wasn't going to school. It's just what I like to do. Kat was always on at me to put on a t-shirt and jeans and be normal and chilled. But that made me want to wear my uniform even more. Salem said, "No, Mum, he looks a right cool dude. The formal looks all the rage again, don't you know?" I said. "The look's a disguise, Mum. It hides the rebel within. Right, Ted?" I nodded. It felt good to be called a rebel. Get me. "Hey, Ted, shake hands?" As I shook hands, we were eyeball to eyeball, and I felt my head going off to one side in what Kat calls my duck that's forgotten how to quack look. "Welcome to London, Salem," I said. Kat pushed me aside. "Hey, Salem," she said, holding out her hand. "That's some accent you have. Is that how yous folk talk up north?" "Hey, Kat," said Salem, taking her hand. "Is that how yow lot talk down south?" I apologise now for my accents. They're not brilliant. Everyone laughed their heads off, which is not what literally happened, but I like the idea of laughing heads becoming detached from bodies through extreme hilarity. So it's a good way to describe things. I didn't know what was funny, but I laughed too. Mr. Shepherd says it's a good idea to laugh when others do, as it means you can fit in and become friends. "How come you talk all South London-y?" Salem continued. "And Ted sounds like he belongs on the BBC." "That's a very good question, Salem," Mum said. "Not even Ted's neurologist can explain it. But come through to the kitchen, everyone. Dinner's ready." In the kitchen, Mum had extended the table to its full length of nearly 2 metres, so that 6 could fit around it. But as the skinniest person, I had to squeeze in the far end with my back to the patio door. Mum had covered the surface with a white tablecloth and had made me lay it because that was my job. Then Kat went round checking I'd put everything the right way round. This was unnecessary, as I'm very good at laying tables. I think of the knife, spoon and fork as an electric current. The knife feeds the end of the spoon, and the front of the spoon feeds the prongs of the fork, and the table edge is the last part. And between each object is a 90-degree angle, so the circuit becomes a perfect square. And if you do it that way, nothing ever goes wrong. Kat had put flowers from the garden in a vase in the middle and a wooden board with stacks of bread. She'd put out our best tumblers for drinks and folded up paper serviettes into them so that each one stood up over the glass rim like a mitre or school emblem. She added wine glasses for Dad, Mum and Auntie Gloria. She tried putting one in her own place, but Mum whisked it away and called Kat Madam Minx, which is what she calls Kat when she's annoyed with her, but only a little bit. We all sat down. Mum served out chicken casserole, one of my favourite things to eat, from a big orange pot. Aunt Gloria talked a lot. She said she and Salem were dead excited to be leaving Manchester, as they'd had enough of the rain. I tried to point out that the number of wet hours in the north was far less than people realised, but she'd already moved on to what was a dead fast city New York was. I knew by then how people often say dead when they mean very, so I didn't need to ask about that. But I did ask her how a city could be fast. "Well, Ted," she said, "everything in New York moves in quick motion, like a film spaded up. People, cars, even the underground trains. They have express trains that flash past the boring stops. When you're there, you feel as if time itself is rushing by at twice the normal rate." "Which means, Mum," Salem said, "you'll grow old in twice as fast in Manhattan." Aunt Gloria laughed. She put an arm out and touched Salem's shoulder. "He's such a joker, my boy." Salem's eyes stared at the tablecloth, and I saw his lips move, but no sound came out. Then he saw me looking at him, and his eyes looked up to the ceiling, and he tapped his temple and pointed at Aunt Gloria, grinning. Kat said later that this was body language for how Salem thought his mother was crazy. Next, he took a mobile phone out of his pocket and put it next to his plate and looked at it very seriously. Mum passed Aunt Gloria the bread. Aunt Gloria said she was off wheat of all kinds because of being on a gluten-free diet. "My nutritionist swears by it," she said. Aunt Gloria, I said. I took a slice for myself. Wouldn't it be better for your health if you gave up on the cigarettes instead of worrying about the bread? Ted coughed as if something had gone down the wrong way. I read some interesting figures yesterday. If everyone in Britain gave up smoking, the National Health Service would save... Ted! Mum said. Aunt Gloria chuckled. No, Faye, Ted's right to ask. Trouble is, Ted, I'm totally hooked on nicotine. And you can take or leave bread. She looked over to Kat. You don't smoke, do you, Kat? Kat twisted her serviette around on itself. Course not. I frowned because I'd seen Kat with a cigarette in her mouth with her school friends only the week before. But Kat, that's... What do you think about going to New York, Salim? Kat interrupted. Salim hunched up his shoulders and smiled, but didn't look from his mobile phone. He'll love it, said Aunt Gloria. I just know. The Empire State Building, the Chrysler. Salim adores big buildings. He wants to be an architect one day. Isn't that right, love? Yeah, s'pose, Salim said. His mobile started ringing with the theme music of James Bond. He said, "Excuse me," and rushed away from the table and out into the hall to answer it. This time I saw Aunt Gloria's eyes go up to the ceiling. While Salim was gone, a conversation started about what we should do tomorrow. Dad had to go to work, but Mum had the day off from being a nurse, as it was half term, so the 5 of us could go sightseeing, she said. Kat wanted to ride the riverboat. I wanted to visit the Science Museum. Mum wanted to go to Covent Garden to see the buskers. Aunt Gloria wanted to go to the art museums. Salim returned, putting his mobile back in his pocket. Salim should decide. Dad said he's the visitor. He wants to go up to the Tate Modern, don't you? Aunt Gloria suggested. Salim doubled over with groans and writhed like he had been poisoned. I got to my feet in a panic and nearly put my elbow through the glass patio door. Everyone else laughed. He's such a practical joker, Aunt Gloria said. Salim stood up straight again, looking normal. He stroked the fine line of his small dark hairs above his lip. Mum, he said, please, not another art gallery. But the Tate Modern's different. It's an old power station with a vast chimney and tall with a capital T. Yeah, but it's full of art. Salim, I said, if you're a practical joker, what's a theoretical joker? Salim considered. Someone who just thinks about playing jokes but never actually does them? I nodded. That made me the theoretical kind. I often think of pranks I could play on Kat, like telling her that a tsunami is scheduled to come up the Thames at 12:30 and ruin her hairdo. But I never carry them out. What about the zoo? Mum said. Or the aquarium? Well, they're not very tall, I said. No, agreed Salim. He scrunched up his eyebrows. I have it. Let's go to the London Eye. The London Eye, said Kat. We've been up twice, Salim. It's fantastic. And it's tall, I said. Taller than the Ferris wheel in Vienna. Technically speaking, it's not a Ferris wheel. It's designed more like a bicycle wheel. A giant bicycle wheel in the sky. It rotates once every 30 minutes and... Kat kicked my shin, which meant she wanted me to stop talking. Great, Salim said. That's what I want to do. Like Ted says, fly the bicycle wheel in the sky. Please, Mum. Supposing it's cloudy tomorrow. It won't be, Aunt Gloria, I said. We're in the middle of a large anticyclone and the weather is set to be fair. But the queues, please, Mum, Salim said. You and Aunt Faye can go and have coffee. Ted, Kat and I will line up to get the tickets. Please. Oh, okay. Only afterwards, we'll just take a little look into the Tate Modern. All that art in a vast industrial space. I'd like to show Ted the Andy Warhols. He was an American pop artist who made pictures from adverts and famous people, like Campbell's tomato soup tins and Marilyn Monroe. I've heard of him, said Kat. He's a weirdo. He was a cultural icon, said Aunt Gloria. I'd say he embodied the 20th century. Some people even think he might have had... She looked at Mum. You know what Ted's got? There was a silence. Like I said, Kat said. A weirdo. Mum's lip pressed up tight. I figured out that Kat had made her cross, but I didn't care. I know I'm a weirdo. My brain runs on a different operating system from other people's. I see things they don't, and sometimes they see things I don't. As far as I'm concerned, if Andy Warhol was like me, then one day I'd be a cultural icon too. Instead of soup cans and movie stars, I'd be famous for my weather charts and formal suits, and that would be good. It's a deal, Salem said. Art gallery second, the wheel first. Which is how we decided on the London Eye. Or as Salem called it, the wheel. Ooh, interesting. So, we know why she's there. We're still not sure about why they fell out. Have a chat. What do you think? What predictions? Was there anything in there that gave us a clue as to why or how Gloria and Faith might have fallen out 5 years ago? Because 5 years is a long time to go without seeing the people that are supposed to be the closest to us. I mean, we've done, 10 weeks, 11 weeks now without seeing some of the people that are closest to us, and it feels like 5 years. So there must have been something that happened. What do you think that would be? Have a natter, see what you think. I wonder if anyone's going to be right. Okay, it's lunchtime for me now, so I'm going to go and enjoy a bit of sunshine, get some lunch, and then crack on with some more stuff this afternoon. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in a few installments' time. See you later. Bye.